So Powerhouse Ministries, for over 30 years, has served men, women, children, and youth escaping cycles of addiction, abuse, poverty, incarceration. And so when we meet somebody at Powerhouse, we often meet them on the worst day of their life. Nothing was going well. They finally had enough with the addiction. Maybe they just got out of jail. Maybe they're escaping the abusive relationship.
I had heard Danny Silk speak many times and had read some of his books, and then we found out that there was some material. I believe Ben had told us that there was some materials that might be helpful in our residential programs. And so we generously received them for free from Levine on Purpose, and we began using them with our recovery programs. When people come into our programs, most of them have never known a healthy relationship. We have learned that people can't actually heal in an environment where they don't feel safe. So for a long time, we had been trying to create a safe culture, which we were doing pretty well with our staff. But to teach residents how to be safe in relationships with one another was really a chore. And I feel like the Levine on Purpose material gave us some ways to teach that. And I love the part where the goal is always connection. And that was new to our people because the goal before was self-protection, to learn how to be vulnerable, how to move into confrontation. It made a world of difference.
With all of our residential programs, we go through Keep Your Love On. We have some of our residents that are in Kylo University and doing that online. I think one of my favorite stories, Ben and Brittany came to share at a parenting conference, and we've got all these moms, some of them that just got their kids back, and they're learning how to parent. And really, they're learning how to do it differently than they had done it before. Their kids are running wild and not super obedient and getting into trouble, and their kids have a lot of anger, and now their parents are there trying to change their life, and it's the first time that they have to use a new parenting voice, where it used to be, hey, stop doing that, and then their kids would throw it back in their face, well, you did that, and how can you tell me no? But I think watching them learn that the goal of correcting their kids was actually just connection was mind-blowing to our parents. Where they went, you mean it's not just about control, or it's not just about getting order and raising your voice, that my goal is to get down with my child, connect with my child, see where they're really at. I think that created a lot of freedom in their ability to regain the confidence in parenting, where it didn't become scary, and it wasn't about their perfection, but it was about loving and connecting with their kids.
That reminded me of, there was a father that came to that. He had gotten out of prison, and his oldest daughter was murdered. And his typical response in that with his other kids would be to go into anger and control mode because she had made some choices that led to that happening. And I remember him in tears in that workshop, and afterwards, him changing the approach that he had to his other two children about how he would discuss what happened to their sister, and him entering into the pain of that. It was a lot less painful to just get angry and say, you're not going to have that kind of freedom, rather than really hurting with them and grieving with them and allowing that to take place in the context of relationship and not control.
Yeah, I actually remember his conversation with her, and it changed from, don't go out, don't do that, to I'm scared. Mm-hmm. And to watch this big, ex-gang member, tattooed face man tell his little girl, I'm just scared, was game-changing in their relationship.
I really think the principles of relationship that are taught in all of the curriculum and honoring one another is something that's translatable in any sphere. And I know for us, we've really used that in relationships with the police department, the city government, because when you honor people, when your goal is to connect, not to win, not to get something for yourself, but actually to have authentic connection, I think it can benefit any ministry in no matter what sphere they're functioning in.
I found Keep Your Love On out of desperation. My mom had done our women's center before, but we had just started a young men and young women's leadership college, and so we had 10 brand new, recently addicted young people. And we knew they needed boundaries. And so I remember we did a boundaries class that wasn't through Keep Your Love On. And what it effectively did is it gave them a big stick to hit each other with. So it was a powerful tool. It kind of blew up. After using that for a while, we went, relationship isn't just about control. There has to be more than that. And so we read a lot of stuff. I was familiar with Danny Silk, and we just began kind of wood shopping it in our own environment. How do we take the best from this world and the best from this world? And really where we landed was Keep Your Love On. And I just remember the immediate impact on our culture and how we did conflict resolution. All of our people in our houses, they have trust issues, and rightfully so. But it became a tool of how do we trust each other, and then how do we trust each other when we're having conflict with one another, and how we're bound. I could go on and on, but I think for me, it was really just desperation to see something grow in our environment, and we knew that we needed more than what we were working with.